What was a fact that you regret knowing? Something along the lines of the existence of dust mites. I have long since accepted that I am an ecosystem. From personal experience. Just how fast pigs process a corpse. Had an old goat die in the barn and didn't find her for a couple hours. At the time we had 2 pigs that were a few months old. Didn't realize just how much we had ate up by letting them be in with the goats that day. Come evening, we go to close up and do the evening chores. And find half of a goat spilled all over the floor with our pigs rooting around the guts. And that's the story of how 15-year-old me learned to respect pigs. My dad and I both took DNA tests for fun and I found out we aren't related. 0% match. There was a woman in the 18th century called Mary Toft who stuffed dead rabbits into her vagina and later acted as if she gave birth to them. The doctors believed her till one of them examined found corn in one of the rabbit's stomachs. It couldn't have been in there. She also did the same with a hog's bladder and a cat's legs. Also with about 15 rabbits. Don't know why I even know this. Edit. Who the found this helpful? Bob Ross actually hated his afro. That my real mum is my sister. I'm adopted. More people jumped from the burning World Trade Center on 9/11 than you think. Do yourself a favor and don't Google it. This is the fact I was going to post. Watching 9/11 on TV. I was too young to know what was going on, but I remember my dad crying and saying they're jumping. The magnitude of how dirty hotel rooms are. I watched someone jump off the Stone Arch Bridge in Minneapolis and saw them pee their pants right before they jumped. Chainsaws were originally meant to be a surgeon's instrument. To aid in childbirth. Actor Daniel von Bargen, Super Troopers. Seinfeld, attempted suicide by shooting himself in the temple with a .38 revolver. He was diabetic and didn't want to go to the hospital for another amputation. Unfortunately he survived and was severely wounded. He also was permanently blinded from the gunshot. There's a transcript of the police call that left me shook. He passed away 3 years later from a battle with diabetes. I remember reading this is why some people duct tape the gun to their hand if they attempt suicide in case the first shot doesn't complete the job. Edit. For those asking why the duct tape. I believe the idea is that you can damage the part of your brain that affects your vision but not die from it. Then you are possibly disabled, blind, and in pain but unable to finish what you started if you dropped or lost the gun. Not much fun to think about. The Challenger's space shuttle astronauts were most likely alive and awake on the way down. NASA's lead investigator, Robert Overmyer, concluded most if not all of the crew were alive and possibly conscious during the entire descent until impact with the ocean. After the investigation, Overmyer stated, "I not only flew with Commander Dick Scobie. We owned a plane together. And I know Scob did everything he could to save his crew. Scob fought for any and every edge to survive. He flew that ship without wings all the way down. That you have to clean lumps out from underneath a horse's foreskin from time to time. No. No I don't. An octopus penis is actually one of their tentacles. So if you would go and pet an octopus at SeaWorld or some other place you could be groping their penis. That my father died believing that I was not his child. And my mother told me. It broke my heart and has forever changed my relationship with my family. Edit. Thanks for your interest in my story. It's helped to put answers to some of your questions. And to read some of your stories. Cockroaches can fly at 5 km/h and can live 3 weeks without their head. They eventually die of starvation. They have a main brain in their head and also a primitive brain near their abdomen. Cockroaches also predate grass. The last one is not that scary but kinda scary knowing they've been here so long, so getting them out will be harder and they will probably outlive humans. Edit. Ray worded some stuff. Tapeworm faces are absolutely terrifying. That my dad likely has terminal brain cancer. I was setting up his MyChart for him and stumbled upon the information. That my girlfriend once sucked her friend's husband's penis when she went to the bathroom. Don't put yourself through the pain of trying to continue the relationship. I've made that mistake before and it isn't worth it. Leave her and find someone better. Also, the wife needs to know too. Unless you don't think she can handle the news. Cheaters. That people dump their old dogs at the shelter in December and get a new puppy for Christmas. From my first job at KFC. A friend that used to work at KFC said that they were told not to throw away the spoiled chicken. They would just boil it before frying. Also yeah. My parents are swingers. And now well into their 70s. Every time you think of a fond memory, you rewrite that memory in your brain. And with time it will slowly deviate more and more from what you originally remembered. Without you ever knowing it. There are some species of butterfly that look for human blood to suck. Edit. Because your body uses vitamin C to make collagen, which holds your skin together and makes scar tissue. When you get scurvy, your old wounds reopen. Every year thousands of children write to Santa Claus. One of the most requested things children ask for on their Christmas lists is a dad. This hurts. I'm going to get a drink. Edit. Thank you for all the upvotes, it wasn't expected. I'm a single mother myself. This hit home because my father left when I was 3. My daughter is 4 now and just asked me if she could put on her list a mum and dad. I was shocked because she has a mum and dad but she meant live together. That hit hard. She has a father she sees regularly. We haven't been together since she was 6 months old. Aneurysms can happen to anyone at any time for no reason and can burst at any time for no reason. I'm actually taking a break from studying about aneurysms. I had a patient before that had a known aneurysm and didn't want to have surgery. Fast forward, it ruptured and was life flighted to a hospital and she begged the DR to help her. He said there's nothing we could do and that's the first time I've actually seen someone's soul leave their body. She spiritually died when he said that. The next day she was dead. Poor lady was so sweet and nice. Never know what a day will bring. Her daughter just stood at the doctor like, so can you help her? He repeated what he said and it took the daughter a few minutes to cope what he said. That was probably the first time I cried at work. Had to walk to the break room. There was an experiment once where every hour, rat had to choose between getting fed or having the pleasure nerve of its brain stimulated. And the rat being tested starved every time. It's pretty interesting but also kind of sad. Thanks. Freeman's mind. Yes. But for those experiments, they keep the rats isolated in cages with nothing else to do. So of course they choose that option all the time. The way rabies kills. Once you have symptoms, you're already dead. It's harder to recognize suicidal people than you think. I don't really regret knowing this. But it's a depressing fact nonetheless. There are regulations on how much ground up cockroach may be in coffee. Not if. How much? Doctors performed surgeries on infants without anesthesia until the 80s. They thought the babies couldn't feel pain. Edit. For those asking me medical questions, I have absolutely no idea. I don't even remember where I saw this fact, but I just always have remembered it. Plus where I got the fact from was referencing open heart surgery on an infant. And adding a source, however. Surveys of medical professionals indicate that as recently as 1986 infants as old as 15 months were receiving no anesthesia during surgery at most American hospitals. This was the NY Times. So there is a good possibility it is still happening in other countries. Also, thanks for the wholesome awards, you weirdos. Stay wacky. The crying, thrashing, and screaming didn't tip them off. When David Foster Wallace hanged himself on his back porch, he tied his hands together with duct tape so that even if he changed his mind at the last minute, he wouldn't be able to escape. He had been struggling with severe mental health issues for more than a decade. So it was sad but not surprising when he finally succeeded in committing suicide. I just wish I didn't know the detail about the duct tape. That my date of birth is exactly 9 months after my dad's birthday. Man. Wait until you learn about why November is a popular birth month. Every suicide by hanging that I have had to go to. I can see their regret after it starts and before they pass out from the evidence at the scene. I can't imagine what is happening in people's minds as they struggle to fix something they can't. Leads me to believe, just like the documentary about the Golden Gate Bridge jumpers has said, it almost is always an instant regret. That anesthesia doesn't always works. My colleague donated one of his kidneys to his brother and he experienced the entire operation without being able to move or scream. Pain and all. Took many months of therapy moving on from this. Dying from starvation is because your body exhausted all of its resources to feed your brain, and then finally as a last resort it taps into digesting the muscles around vital organs in order to get the ketones your brain needs until there's only one muscle left. Your heart. So technically you die because you ate your own heart. Not a scientifically accurate explanation. Closer to Eli-5. But yeah. Could have gone a lifetime without knowing that. Edit, that is if you survive until your heart gives out. But other vital organs can go first and kill you earlier. Thanks for the links in the comments. Go read them. I just wrote down the layperson gist of it. The dolphins gang up. It's also widely believed that the males will commit infanticide. They will kill babies to free up the mother to mate with them. That my mom never really wanted to marry my dad. Still in love with her college sweetheart. Was unhappy in the entire marriage. And still had 2 kids with him. Even if my dad didn't want a second kid. I love my little brother. But if your partner doesn't want a kid and you stop using birth control so you can have one anyways. That's effed up. Someone tried and failed to save Abraham Lincoln, and his life just got worse from there. Horses masturbated by hitting their 1 meter long dong against their bellies. Female horses rub against wooden poles. Sorta cliche. But there are millions and billions of living organisms on your body. So to them. You are their galaxy. Edit. Sorry if I sound like a complete virgin. But holy crap. I've never gotten that much upvotes. Thank you for the awards either. That's kinda romantic. Male ducks gang up female ducks. More people have tapeworms than dogs. The most popular common pet. The death of Junko Furuta. She was put through absolute hell that no human should ever experience. I am serious when I say. Look up the details at your own risk. It's so devastating that you'll most likely never forget it. Edit. For real. I'm warning you. If you look it up, you may regret it. Hard work won't pay anything back sometimes. Take care of my mother for a decade. But the monster of schizophrenia is getting stronger and stronger. There is nothing I can do. So does the medicine. Not really a fact. But when I was 20, I wasn't afraid of anything. Now that I am approaching 40, I've learned of so many ways things can go wrong and people can up that I'm always at least a bit cautious. That's probably for the best. But I liked being a fearless 20-year-old more. Your child is more likely to be abused by someone you know than a stranger. You literally have to protect children more from their own family and friends than random criminals. Furby's eyes are in the front, which would make them a predator. Maybe it's well known. But the song I Don't Like Mondays is based on a horrific story. A teenage girl named Brenda Spencer lived across the street from an elementary school. One day there were a bunch of kids outside the gate waiting to be let in and she just started shooting at them. None of the kids were killed. But 2 school employees were, the principal and a janitor. I believe. But I don't remember for sure. Afterwards she went back home to wait for the police. And she called up a radio station to tell them what she did. When they asked her why, her answer was, "I just don't like Mondays." It's a little cliche. I know. But this is my first time being famous, so humor me. Thank you for the awards. Even if I don't understand why this was labeled wholesome, lol. I was shocked when I saw I had 50 upvotes lol. 1. 5k is something new. That redditors are obsessed with duck penis. My mother abandoned me as a baby. My father raised me as an infant. My mother came back and the courts in the 1960s gave custody back to her even though my father fought for me. All my life. My mother demonized my father and worked to keep us apart. All of my life. I have struggled with the feeling that I don't belong. This comes from being raised not belonging to my mother's new family. Or my father's new family. I have always carried a pervasive feeling of abandonment. Then one day my father drops the bomb by telling my brother. The voice actress for Ducky from Land Before Time being murdered by her own dad. Netflix raised the price again. Somewhere. Someplace. Someone is starving to death at this moment. Not like I'm regretting it, but makes me sad every time I recall it. The fact that at literally any second you could lose someone you love. Everyone knows this, but once it's happened a few times you're acutely aware of it. A car wreck. A miscarriage. A heart attack. Stroke. Edit: I posted this comment before going to bed at the end of a 12-hour night shift. Definitely didn't expect this to resonate like it has with you folks. I really appreciate all the messages from people checking to make sure I am okay. While I may not know all you commenters' pains, I empathize with you guys and girl. I hope everyone takes a few extra seconds to let the people you love know how much you care. Ooh, the top comment is an anesthesia fact. Let's make people less comfortable. Anesthesiologists use a proprietary mix of drugs. Sir. Always tell your anesthesiologist if you smoke weed because it affects the amount of anesthetic you need to actually stay asleep. He does not care if you are a stoner or breaking local laws. I promise. C-section births in America happen more so on Friday because they take less time than a vaginal birth. And doctors want to start their weekend early. So this is the opposite of what is being asked. But for everyone with the anxiety and dread of death from this thread, just remember you were already dead for 13.77 billion years. So death isn't as scary to me knowing this fact. Since I already spent so long non-existent. The doctor told me that I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. Thought it would be all good after taking some pills until I searched on the internet and found that it's incurable. Well, that sucks. Thalassophobia. The nightmare. That my high school health teacher was right when she said that SX is dangerous. Our morgues and graveyards are filled with people who have had the SX. The fact that WWE is fake fighting destroyed my heart in 6th grade. It is suspected that a key difference between dogs and wolves is a sequence of genes similar to humans with Williams syndrome, which makes people very friendly and mentally handicapped. Dogs are basically wolves with Down syndrome. The casting process. Production rules and pay system is different for actors with speaking roles than it is for background actors, extras. This means that whenever you see a random character speak in a movie TV show, you can be pretty sure that they're going to come up later. Cop shows are horrible about this. Most of the time when you see some rando get bumped into and say hey, watch it, or something similar, they're going to be a person of interest later on. How far the COVID test goes up your nose. Octopi have their sexual organs on their faces. Squidward is an octopus. Look at his nose. Plus, Steven Hillenburg was a marine biologist, so he knew what he was doing. A different comment on this post says that octopi have their sexual organs as an extra tentacle. Domestic violence is legal in Russia. The government does not 1. Give everyone a small sum of money when they graduate high school. 2. Send updates to you when laws change. Dogs love squeaky toys because of their predator instinct. The squeaks sound like a scared or injured animal. What snail teeth look like? Cockroaches can crawl in your ear. Some people wipe their butt standing up. My ex is one of those weirdos. The United States has led one of the most successful genocides in modern history. At the last place I lived, we had a roommate that lived in the unfinished basement. She was overall a gross person. I went down to do my laundry one day and found out that she likes to hang out and watch TV in the nude. But she didn't watch TV in her room. She had it set up at the bottom of the stairs for some unknown reason. The duck penis is not straight, but spirals counterclockwise, from its base to its tip. The Muscovy duck penis completes 6 to 10 full twists over its 20 cm, 7-8 inch length. When a duck got a bigger dick than you. That there are people who are pay infants. Shark attack victims have mentioned hearing the shark roar. That Jerry Seinfeld dated a 17-year-old when he was 31. Honestly, I hate this thread already. After COVID, we are about to be buried in an avalanche of boomers with dementia and Alzheimer's. They will be abandoned at heirs, left in their houses, crowding filthy wards. There were not enough doctors for their births nor schools for their education. There will not be enough care for their deaths either, and many of them will take a long, annoying, terrible time to die. Nobody knows how anesthesia works. All we know is that too much of it will kill you. So as an anesthesiologist, my job is to monitor your vitals and pray you don't die. Or wake up mid-cut. Most people do wake up, but we dump enough drugs into you so that you forget it. Of course, assuming you wake up and can move. Or make sound. Otherwise, well, sorry. If you look like your mom. That rabies can take years from infection to symptoms. Once symptoms start, you're pretty much dead. Every 1 in 2 women and 1 in 3 men get cancer in their lifetime. That one day, the universe will be a cold, silent and lifeless place where nothing new can ever be created again. Even if the heat death of the universe is still a theory, it's something horrible to know. That and the fact that climate change will probably put an end to human civilization as we know it in less than a century, but we don't care about it. Warning. That in certain parts of Africa it is a huge problem that some men with AIDS believe a superstition that if you have sex with an infant your AIDS passes from you to the infant. The problem is so bad that there are billboards debunking this thinking, and the journalist in the story I saw said that the local hospital was seeing between 2 and 5 infants being brought in per week, with many dying from their injuries. Just one hospital. It still messes me up thinking of this. It was virgins. They just used infants and children because they were more likely to be virgins. There is a black market for osonagats. Women whose limbs and teeth have been removed, only leaving the head and body for people to have sex with. Edit. I don't know if it's really real. Obviously this is not just to be found on Google. But considering how dark and twisted the black market community is known to be. Say psych right now. Edit. 45 minutes have passed and I have not had a psych yet. Red velvet coloring comes from the blood of beetles. Some vanilla extract comes from the anal glands of beavers. Imitation vanilla extract only. I feel like that's an important fact. You can also use other types of red dye. From flowers etc. They're a bit more expensive. It hurts lady cats when they make love and kitties. The human anus can stretch up to 8 inches. Raccoon can squeeze into holes that are 4 inches wide. So if you want, you can fit 2 whole raccoons up your ass. When male ducks hang out together, that squirrels can survive hitting the ground at terminal velocity. To kill one by dropping it, it would have to fall approximately 4,800 miles. That the human head can exhibit emotions and respond to commands for up to 30 seconds after a beheading. That a child who was forgotten in a hot car for the day, strapped in a car seat, she eventually died, pulled out all her own hair while suffering. Cowing about Aokigahara, the suicide forest in Japan, and my curiosity to go there. Also tangentially Logan Paul. When I was young, watching the making of The Matrix really ruined the magic for me. I hate knowing that my mom cheated on my dad when I was like 10. My mom has been the most amazing parent to me, and my dad has always been sour grpes that I'm not the kind of man he wanted. Knowing my mom ed up makes me not know how to feel about either of them. Even 25 years later. I love them both, but to face the understanding of imperfection of people you look up to at such a young age really ed me up moving forward. That an ingredient in ice cream comes from a liquid in a beaver's anus. The man who created Match.com had his wife leave him for a man she met on Match. Schools use different teaching methods based on the economic level of the area. McRibs are made from the parts of the pig nobody wants to eat. Like hearts and stomach lining. I'm loving it. Something that's pretty obvious really, but I hadn't thought of. Smells are made of molecules, so if you're breathing through your mouth to avoid a nasty smell, you're technically eating it instead. If you don't live with your parents and live in different cities, you can approximately calculate how many times you are going to meet them in person. Based on AVG lifespan, their current age, and no of occasions you expect to meet per year. Doing this calculation makes me sad I'm going to meet my mom and dad only 30 more times. Gives a sense of how precious each meeting needs to be. This has changed on what discussions I have with them.